Chapter 3. When Justin stepped into the Samsa's apartment on Billionaires Row in Manhattan, as the sun rose, his father sat waiting for him. "What did I tell you, Justin?" He glanced at his father Lycell. "When will you heed my warnings? I sent you here to this city because you're my youngest son, and the last I will have. Your mother and Wilder cautioned me against you coming to New York. But I thought you could learn from your uncles and brothers. And then return to the ranch where we need you." "I can't go back now, father. I have." "You have found a mate, I know," Lycell said. "How do you know?" "I was a young pup once." "I'm not a pup. I'm a yearling. I promised your mother to see to you. But now I know that you have entered into a dangerous situation. One I'm not sure I can get you out of. You have come between a vampire and his concubine. You can't win this. He is as lethal when he is on the hunt for a mate as a young wolf. I know. I've been there. I can win with your help and the help of the pack. Wilder is still in charge, and he will not agree to allow us to put all that we are, and all that our family has accomplished, in jeopardy. Come home with me, Justin." Lycell extended his hand to his son. "I can't go with you. I have to be my own man. No one told you what to do when you met Mother. I know you almost died rescuing her." "Damn you, Justin. It wasn't the same thing. We were fighting our kind, and your mother was my chosen mate. She belonged to me and my brothers, and when she was kidnapped, it was our duty to bring her back, and I loved her. Well, I'm in love with Hannah." "Does she love you?" "I don't know. All I know is that I have to have her. It's the full moon talking to you, my son. And now it's the blood moon that will control you. But you can't fight that vampire. Few of my kind can or want to. Set your sights on another female. That human belongs to the vampire. I won't let him have her." "You can't stop him," Lycell said with a furrowed brow. "You have to learn for yourself." "It's the curse of all my sons," Lycell said and shrugged his shoulders. "They are such hard heads and cocksure. What am I to do?" He whispered into the air. "I'm leaving now. I just came to bring you home, and since you won't come, I can't make you. You don't want a mother or a father. You want to mate." Lycell grabbed his young son and held him tight. "Don't die, my son. Your mother will never forgive me." He held Justin for a very long time and whispered into his ear, "If you have to, bring her to the ranch. Maybe Wilder will consent to the family battling the vampire. But I doubt it." He pulled away from Justin, looking him into his eyes. "You have your mother's eyes but my looks." And then he smiled. "Does that female know you're a werewolf?" "I told her, but she doesn't believe me." "Then how the fuck are you going to convince her that she should make the choice between a vampire and a werewolf?" "Another question. Does she love you?" "I don't know." Justin shrugged. "You don't know. You're willing to die for love, but don't know if the female loves you. That is idiotic. I didn't think my lastborn would be a moron." Lycell wanted to take those words back the minute they left his mouth. Justin's forehead furrowed. "I'm not an idiot, father. I'm in love." "I know, my son. Same thing." He turned to leave. But turned to face him, realizing that he may never see his son again. "You have to find out who she prefers. One of you will take her, and I doubt that it will be you. You don't have the power or the experience to fight him for her." "I know, but I have to try. Wouldn't it be better if you lived and matured, and let me show you how to survive what's coming for you? Make no doubt about it, you two are headed for a reckoning, and if you aren't home or have your family around, it will happen soon." He looked to Justin, but he was as stubborn as Lycell had been at his age, maybe more, because he had his mother's stubborn genes as well. "Since it's no getting through to you, I have to get back to the ranch. Wilder has gone to Alaska for a conference, and I'm in charge. You know what that means." Yes. You will have more time to devote to Mother. Lycell shot Justin a wide smile. I want what you have with my mother. I want to be loved and to love, Justin admitted to his father before he hugged him. You have to earn the love and you don't do that by dying for it, Lycell said. When Lycell was stepping into his jet headed back to Samsaville, Giovanni was waking from his sleep. At 7 p.m. he had become angry with himself. All his fears came before him. He knew how to find Hannah and where to find her. He searched around for his phone and found it on the table in his bedroom with windows all shuttered from the morning sun. Now it was night once more. Giovanni punched in Gabriella's number and let it ring once, and she answered. Gabriella, I need something from you. Sure. Who is this? Giovanni Nightingale. She thought a minute and then said, Mr. Nightingale. Yes. What can I do for you? Go to dinner, invite you to dinner, anything, her voice as cheerful as usual. It's not that, but if I wasn't in love with your friend. Hannah. You're in love with Hannah? I guess if it wasn't me, I'm happy it would be her. She's so sad all the time. Where is she, Gabriella? She's home, but she's moving in with me tomorrow. We'll have a bachelorette pad together. I must have her phone number. Sure. I'll text it to you in a second. But I'm in the middle of something. I'll wait for it. As soon as Gabriella hung up the phone, she called Hannah. Hannah, guessed what? Giovanni Nightingale just called me and asked for your number. Should I give it to him? Hannah grew silent. Are you still there? What should I do, Gabriella? How the fuck should I know? It's your life. I would give that hunk anything he asked. I mean anything. He could tie me up anytime. That man is hotter than the 4th of July. Smoking hot. And he's matured. Not like my boyfriends. If I found a real man like him, I'd marry him in a fast minute. I don't know. Justin likes me too. I met him first. What does your heart tell you? My heart tells me that I want Giovanni Nightingale. Obviously he's infatuated with you too, Hannah. But what should I tell him? If he asks, tell him hell yes you'll go out with him. He's a fucking billionaire and he's handsome. Have you seen how he looks at you? I wished Brian and Chase gawked at me the way he does. He looks at you as if he could eat you. And I mean eat you. But they love you, Hannah said to Gabriella. They love to fuck me. Giovanni hasn't fucked you yet, and he has that look as if anyone touched you but him, he would tear them apart. He appears to be jealous of anyone who comes around you, especially Justin. And what is it with Justin anyway? It's a long, unbelievable story. You don't have time to hear it. Give Giovanni my number. You're still moving in with me tomorrow? I told my mother you would. That's the only way she would consent to me living alone. She said, as long as Hannah goes with you. She's a good girl. Not for long, Hannah. You have to get laid. You have to fuck Giovanni. How else will you know if you like that man and he's a good fit? What do you mean a good fit? When it happens, you'll know. Oh look, he's calling. Your walking dream is calling me back. See, he couldn't wait a second. He's into you something terrible. He's the kind of man who doesn't fall in love often, and when he does it's for keeps. Hannah didn't know what to make of that remark. Does Gabriella know something Hannah doesn't? More than Hannah. Gabriella had a few men in her time. Gabriella 5, Hannah 0. Just let me send him this text and I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, I almost forgot. Did you have problems with your parents? No. They knew it was time. I just need to get a job. Don't worry about that for a while. I'll take care of everything. Got to run, Gabriella said with a cheerful voice. Gabriella always appeared to be cheerful. What did she have to be upset over? She had looks and style, a great body and money. Men were running behind her and tripping over each other just to be in her company. Hannah thought she had nothing going for her but a cute face. Maybe hair too long that needed a good haircut. And she felt that her eyes were too large and her breasts were too small. She couldn't imagine what Giovanni saw in her, but she saw plenty in him. Gabriella answered the call from Giovanni and gave him Hannah's number. As Giovanni tapped in the text, someone was ringing his bell. He placed the phone to the side and answered the door. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to see where you were hiding, Giovanni." It takes great courage to come into a vampire's home. Taisia strutted past Giovanni, taking the time to glare at him before leaning to look at his paintings and to pause at the skyline. Giovanni moved slowly behind her. When she turned to tell him something, she gasped. "I didn't hear you come up behind me." He held his head to the side with a closed smile, gazing at her. "It appears you are one of those who can't see the warning signs or enjoy pushing the envelope. But I warn you, don't do this too often. How did you find me?" "You aren't hard to find. Just look up at the tallest apartment building in Manhattan on 5th Avenue and there you are, in the penthouse," she said, opening her fingers like a fan. "I came to make peace with you." "I don't make peace with witches or sorceress or whatever you call yourselves. I don't have to. You should know the extent of my powers and they are boundless. You can't be everywhere to protect that young woman you're lusting behind," Taisia said, staring Giovanni in the eyes, sure of herself and how he feels about Hannah. When her eyes dropped, and with a flick of his hand it had encircled her neck. With her eyes bulging in surprise, she said with a hoarse voice, "I'm not afraid of you. It's been years since you've harmed a woman. And you don't really harm them, you make them your slaves. You didn't want their devotion, but how could they resist you? Even as you are ready to snuff out my life, I crave your touch." Taisia laid her head to the side to rest on his hand and closed her eyes. "You changed those begging women who would gladly give their life to become your concubine, and they loved you for it. But you never loved any of them. You're in love with a mortal, and I bet that will make them very angry. All I have to do is tell Sasha, and she will be here with those poor unfortunate souls, thinking that one day you will choose one of them, if only they were to rid themselves of that weak mortal. You dared come to my home and threaten me." She smiled at him as he leaned into her. He stared at her with his hand around her throat, as if she would goad him into sucking her blood. She wanted to feel what it was for him to take her. She knew that once he did, he would have sex with her, and she wanted that. She craved that feeling after hearing about his infamous lovemaking with Sasha. Taisia was too detestable for him to even keep her in a state of the undead. He would have to kill her, but he chose not to. He didn't want anything to interfere with his love for Hannah. He didn't want Tasia's death to affect his life with Hannah. Giovanni dropped his hand in disgust. "You will never get what you want from me. And don't threaten me with Hannah again." "So that's her name. You had all the women at that party willing to sleep with you, and perhaps become whatever you wanted, and you fall in love with a little bird. A weak little bird who doesn't sing. What does she do, Giovanni? It's time for you to leave. Get on your broomstick or whatever you travel on these days, and leave my home now, or you will feel my wrath, and there won't be enough of you for Sasha to scatter into the wind." "Don't be so dramatic, Giovanni. I'm leaving." She walked to the door and opened it and disappeared before Giovanni's eyes. He stood watching at the fog she had vanished in, and then he turned and closed the door, and that's when he heard his phone and knew he had a text. He knew who it was, and he hurried to it to read the message. "Yes. I'll have dinner with you tonight. 8 or 9 p.m. will be fine. Hannah." Giovanni couldn't believe that she would accept his invitation to dine with him at his apartment. He texted her back. "My driver will arrive at 8. You don't have to give me the address. I know where you live. Giovanni." Hannah hit the red button and put the phone to her chest, closed her eyes, raised her head upward, inhaled, exhaled, and smiled.